sharing my story regarding service work. Um, I was started thinking back on this, and the church that I was going to, one of their emphasis was outreach to the community. They serve food for the homeless once a week. They did homeless drives. They did other things as outreach to the community. And the pastor at that church was really big on doing service, and he asked us every week, in the at the end of his sermon, what are you going to do to contribute to service to the community? And as a person who was struggles with guilt, every week I cringed when he did that because I felt guilty because I had no idea what kind of service work I was going to do. And I felt like it was something I wanted to do, but I didn't know how I could contribute. So anyway, at some point, there was this group called CoDA North Texas. It was an intergroup that supported all the North Texas groups. I was asked if I would be the treasurer. And I come from a banking background, and I thought, well, that's going to be an easy way to tip my toe into the pool of service work, because that's something I can feel very comfortable doing. So I started to become the treasurer, and we would meet periodically. To do planning and strategy sessions with CoDA North Texas. One of the people I worked with, um, she was the secretary, I was the treasurer, and I remember very clearly showing up one night and not a single other person showed up. Nobody, no chair, no vice chair, nobody from any of the other groups. So I was thinking there's got to be a real opportunity to improve the service that we're doing as part of CoDA North Texas. And I wanted to think about how I could assist in growing the service aspect of CoDA. And I will tell you that it's not always been an easy road. It's been a little bit challenging sometimes. And I think back, and there's this some of the people in the CoDA service work. One of them, if I did 100 things right, she would try to find one thing that I did wrong and make sure she pointed it out in front of everybody. That was just kind of her personality. We had another one, and there's somebody on tonight that will remember this moment, where we were in a meeting and somebody, criticized something I was doing, and I responded, and somebody got up and very loudly said, um, I've been in CoDA longer than you. I've experienced more recovery than you have, and I will tell you that I think your response was a shaming response, and I don't know if you should actually be a trusted servant. And I was really shocked by that, and a little disappointed, but I tried to respond in a way where I, stood up for myself and not overreact, but I stood up for myself. So I talked to somebody that was one of the key people in CoDA at the time, and I said, I don't know if this service work is right for me. And they said, why not? And I said, and I gave those examples, and they said, Charles, part of the thing about being in CoDA service work is it's a safe place for you to practice the tools that you've learned in recovery and to be able to use your tools. And I thought, well, that really reframed the whole thing. Maybe I don't need to be so sensitive. Maybe I don't need to take things personally. And maybe I need to use this as an opportunity to continue my growth and recovery in a different way. So I was very pleased that they said that. Um, so the group I went to, we had a kind of a standard set of people who facilitated and unlocked the doors and put out the materials and everything. And at some point, they asked me if I would like to have a key in the alarm code to the building. And I thought, why not? They said, just in case for some reason no one else shows up and you need to do that. So anyway, I got the key and the alarm code, had it with me all the time, never used it. One week, nobody else showed up. So I thought, okay, I guess I better unlock the doors and go in there. And so I went in there and sat and sat and sat, and nobody else showed up. And I thought, okay, so I guess we're not going to have a meeting tonight, or do I just have a meeting with myself? I was kind of debating about that. And then somebody showed up, and I'm going to change her name for confidentiality reasons. I'm going to call her Nancy. Nancy showed up. She had been to another meeting the week before and did not feel comfortable, so she thought she would try our meeting. And ironically, I think it was one of the best meetings I ever had. Just the two of us, because I'm one of those kind of people that looks for big turnouts and all that kind of stuff. But just the two of us had a meeting and it went wonderfully. And I think it was the beginning of her CoDA recovery. And this is a person who is making great strides in their life to not just focus on her recovery, but to help other people with their struggles. So anyway, we got to be very close. We are two people that would have never met each other had it not been for CoDA. We're not in the same age range, we're not the same gender, but we still became very, very close CoDA friends. And so one of the people who is also on this call, I'm not going to say your name, but did this fantastic thing when I was new in my recovery and did a step study. And I will tell you, the weekly sharing meetings were great for me, but that step study opened my eyes because it was a place where the things that I didn't fully understand about the CoDA program, we were able to discuss those things, and it just made me fully realize the full value of CoDA and what it could bring to the table. So my thought was, being part of this regional CoDA support, was, well, maybe I can do a step study now that I've been through one. And I thought, but what we did back then, we kind of had silos. So our group would have a step study. The group down the street would have a step study. The group across town would have a step study. And they were all very independent. I thought, what if, in fact, we do a step study and invite other groups that are regionally in the same area to participate? Maybe we can have a bigger turnout. Maybe we can, with step studies, traditionally, what you find is that if you start a step study, by the end, maybe only 60 to 70% of the people that started or make it all the way through the 12 steps. So, so we went out there and used CoDA North Texas. I went to the church and I asked them, I said, can we use a room in the church for the step study? And they said, well, it's a 12-step program. We already have AA in our meeting. So meeting at our church, so you can meet on a night that they don't meet. So we said, okay. So we put the step study out there and made sure everybody was aware of it, try to communicate it effectively. And we had a really good turnout for the step study, probably, um, on average, about 18 people a week, which was, kind of history making at the time for the number of people that turned out for the step study. And Nancy was my backup. Whenever you do a step study, in case you can't make it one week or something like that, you always need a backup. So the step study went really well and started to thrive. So I asked her about 3/4 of the way through, I said, do you think there is a need in East Dallas for a CoDA group? And she said, I think it's one of those things, if you build it, they will come. And I thought, okay, so we went to the church and said, can we put a CoDA group and opposite those nights of AA in the church? And they said, well, we don't know. We want to see if it fits with our mission, our church. So they said, we would like to join you at one of your CoDA meetings. And so one of the pastors came with us to a CoDA meeting and had some questions, and then they agreed to let us use their facilities. So that's when we started the East Dallas group. And one of the things that Nancy and I did, first of all, we went to the church and did a presentation to let them know what we were doing and what CoDA was about. And we did some other outreach. We posted some things in neighborhood bulletin boards and so forth. But we also said, well, how can we make sure that this meeting is going to be something that is considered a safe place. Because that's the whole point in a CoDA meeting. We want people to feel like it's a safe place. And so we threw up some ideas. And one of the things was, what about newcomers? Because I will tell you, when I was a newcomer and I came to my first meeting, I was almost in a panic attack status. Obviously, things weren't going perfect in my life. That's why I showed up at CoDA. And the people there were very warm and they were very inviting and made me feel comfortable. And that's the only thing that made me stay through the whole first meeting. I don't know if I could have done it otherwise. So I thought about that, that we want to make sure that we greet newcomers, welcome them, and make them feel comfortable. Another thing is, we didn't want this to be Nancy's group. We didn't want this to be Charles's group. We wanted this to be a group that was everybody's group. So we talked about ways to get participation from other people. And part of that would be asking people to do service work. And part of it would be rotating facilitators. So we have different facilitators every week. And just to make it a group where everybody felt invested and they felt like they were part of it. And I often make the joke, and Amy kind of referred to this earlier, but people see me coming and they run the other direction. It's not because they don't like me, because they know that I'm probably going to be asking them to do service work at some point. But anyway, the group took off and it has flourished ever since. I don't know how many years it's been now, probably 8 or 9 years. And last week we had 18 people at our meeting, and a lot of those people in that group do service work. So I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. So as I have worked with the people in the group and worked with CoDA North Texas, some of the people that I asked to do service work were a little hesitant at first, and if they're not ready to do it, I understand. But they're also, well, if Charles thinks has enough confidence in me that I can do it, then maybe I can do it. And what I also found is that we had a lot of talent in that group, and different types of talents in different ways of doing things. So they came up with ideas that would never in a million years cross my mind. But if you go to the East Dallas group, one of the things that you'll see on the front of the participants guide is a QR code. And you can scan that QR code and you can put in your CoDA birthday. What that allows us to do is remember what your CoDA birthday is. You'd be surprised when it's been 16 years later. Now, what was my CoDA birthday again? That's the one way to capture it. Another thing is it links you to a WhatsApp, which has a list of all the people it's in our group that that are willing to stay in touch during the week. So, for instance, if I have a CoDA crisis in the middle of the week, I can go to that phone list and call somebody and say, do you have a minute? Are you willing to work with me on this issue? And I can let them know if I want feedback or not. We use the CoDA, in the CoDA.org, there is a manual there of how CoDA works. So we use that as our guideline. But we've improved the facilitator's guide, the participant guide, and make sure it has all the latest things from CoDA. Then we started a hybrid meeting because we found that sometimes people couldn't make it in every week. So we wanted people to be able to listen in online. And we have one person who's been coming there for a number of years and moved to another city recently, but still attends meetings because we have the hybrid meeting. Now that turned out to be a boon for us when the pandemic came because we did not miss a single meeting. We were able to continue our meetings and do them virtually. I will say when we were able to meet in person again, we had a huge turnout because we missed the personal one-on-one connections with each other and still love to meet in person. But that allowed us to do that. So with all these ways we had done to enhance our meeting, we started thinking the next thing is let's share this with other groups. And we have this facility at CoDA North Texas to do that. And then one of the people that was in our group helped us with our website, and the website became amazing. The tools out there available, the ability to send out announcements. One of the things that I learned early on is when people weren't participating in CoDA North Texas, it was because they didn't know what was going on. And we needed to improve our communication skills. So what we had traditionally done, we'd send out emails with a flyer attached. The group service reps would print the flyer and hand them out at the meetings. But what we learned is that there's different ways in our modern world to communicate, and we need to use all of them to the best advantage to make sure we get the word out there, whether it's a group text, a WhatsApp chat, an email, and we even had outreach people who would actually call individual GSRs and let them know. So we tackled it on all fronts. And then, the thought was we could work with CoDA North Texas and, institute a lot of these things that we were doing. We started having speaker meetings. We started having, once again, more step studies where other groups could join us. We had step studies online where people that were in an area where there wasn't a group could join. And we started thinking, what can we do to help the service community? I mean, the CoDA community. And one of the things is we had a Zoom account. Why not loan that out to other groups when we don't need it and they want to do their own hybrid meeting so they didn't have to pay for one? So we did all of this kind of stuff, and it turned out to be pretty impressive. We found that, for instance, one of the things is that a group in England saw what we were doing, and to their website, they put a link to our website. And so, it was starting to get recognized that we were actually able to accomplish some things. We started a Spanish intergroup where we could support the Spanish speaking community. We participated a lot with CoDA Texas at that point with things like the region of the annual conference that they have. And CoDA Texas was saying, I think we need to do things like accept electronic donations, and we help them be able to process those electronic donations, and we help them use the tools we created to send out the communications. And the one that we had last year was the biggest turnout ever. It was an extremely successful one, and it almost got to the point where they couldn't accept reservations anymore because they ran out of room. So a lot of these tools that we had pioneered were working, and they were not only working for CoDA North Texas, but they were working for other locations. And in addition to that, there were a lot of locations that were not being served. And we look at places like El Paso and Waco, and even Tyler, to a certain extent, had trouble driving into Dallas for these meetings. And so with the ability to use these online meetings, we were able to bring in other people from Amarillo and Midland and so forth into the fold and be able for them to start getting some support. And another thing that we did is, we didn't abandon in-person things altogether. We did what was called the CoDA birthday parties. And the CoDA birthday parties were a way of celebrating the amount of time that we've been in North Texas and all that. As a matter of fact, we just had one yesterday, and it was a big success. So we were doing all these things, and so what we found was too is that as good as we were doing, that we were also competing with resources with CoDA Texas. And so when we started looking at it, we thought, instead of competing, what if we collaborate and work together? Because we found a lot of the things that we're doing at CoDA North Texas were not restricted by location. They could be done online a lot of the meetings we have, a lot of the service work we do is online. Yes, we still need to have regional opportunities for in-person events, but we could work together. And so that's when we started coordinating with CoDA North Texas, um, and one of the persons on tonight is someone who moved from CoDA North Texas role to a role in CoDA Texas as the chair this year. And so we're making a lot of progress in CoDA Texas. And I will implore you, please, when you have the opportunity to, excuse me just a second, folks. Apologize. I'm dog sitting and the dog got hurt something. So that's enough. All right. So this is the person that's causing the ruckus here. I apologize. So anyway, we started working together with CoDA Texas, and we're just having tremendous success. Right now, we've added things like a YouTube channel, which is where this recording will ultimately go. So if you miss a speaker meeting or a workshop, you'll be able to find those. Um, we One of the other things that we're doing is we're emphasizing the regional support. So if you go out to CoDaTexas.org and look at the website, you will see that now not only will North Texas have a chair, the Spanish intergroup, not a chair, a regional service representative. CoDA North Texas has one, and she's on tonight, as well as the Spanish intergroup has one. But we'd also like to get one for Austin, Houston, and San Antonio, so we can get greater participation in those other regions, and continue just to support the community. But I will tell you, in hindsight, the CoDA service work that I have done has probably been one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life. Because I keep thinking over and over again that what we say is that we want to carry the message forward to those who still suffer. And number two, once I get to a certain point in my recovery, the next step in my recovery is doing service work. Now, it gives me, as I mentioned earlier, a chance to practice my recovery tools. But also it allows me a chance to meet other people that I would have never met normally in my personal life, and develop relationships with people. And these are people who are wanting to make changes in their life. And these are people who are wanting to do the right thing. And so it's just allowed me to continue to grow in those ways. Plus, uh, I'm not working right now, and it's allowed me a chance to um, grow in some of my skills. And they've been very patient with me, and I'm learning how to develop some skills to be able to do some of the things. Yesterday, I posted a blog on CoDaTexas.org. Never in a million years thought I would be able to do something like that, but I was. So I was very proud of that. I will say, as much of an impact that CoDA Texas is having right now, it's only limited by the number of volunteers that we get. A number of people who are willing to stand up and carry the message forward, work on their own recovery, and be able to add to the work we're able to do. One of the next things that you'll see on CoDA Texas .org coming soon. It's a always improving. It's going to be a place that says a tab that says service, and it will have a button to where people can sign up to do service. Now, what if you don't know what you want to do? That's all right. Reach out to us. We will find out what your skills are, and we will help find a position where you can add value to the organization. And it doesn't matter how small or how big the time commitment is, or how small or big the role is, it will help other people who are still struggling. and it will help benefit others in their CoDA recovery. So please consider the importance of for your own recovery and doing service work at some point, and it will be one of the most rewarding and challenging things that you've ever done in your life, but it's well worth the time. Thanks.